Welcome along to SeahawksDraftBlog.com live mock draft here. Rob Staton with you, and I'm going to run through a couple of full rounds, and I'm going to have some Seahawks thoughts as well. I'm going to mix things up from the last live mock draft where it's kind of defensive heavy, and everybody who kind of follows SeahawksDraftBlog.com will know that I want the Seahawks to focus on the top seven. You know, that front seven and creating a great pass rush and having speed and physicality and getting after opponents next year. But look, depending on how the board falls, they might be forced into different directions. I know a lot of people think that the quarterback's going to go really early now because, for example, Malik Willis has got this pro day that's got everybody talking on Twitter. I'm not convinced that's going to happen. And, speaking to Scott McLuhan this week, and he's saying that, look, 3 are going to go in the first round, but all of them have got third-round grades. I'm not convinced that the teams are going to be rushing to take people like Malik Willis at number 2 and Kenny Pickett in the top 10. I just don't see that happening. I'm going to make sure that I represent that in this mock draft that is coming up as well. If you have questions, super chat them away and I'll come to those. I'm sure a lot of you will be passing comments on this mock draft as we go through, and it won't just be Seahawks fans in the chat as well, but I am going to try and stick to just the super chats today because it's quite hard to sort of do the live mock draft and keep an eye on the comments as well. So let's bring in the Pro Football Network Mock Draft Simulator. This is I'm going to be using for this. There's not going to be a simulation. People have wondered whether we're going to do some simulations and look through what the Seahawks do, and they're on the clock as opposed to me picking every other pick and me just picking the Seahawks picks instead. I will do that when perhaps some of the big boards are updated in this system, because right now I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying in terms of their rankings. I think they're a little bit all over the place. If they match up more to what I think is realistic, then I'll start doing the simulations. But, a lot of these that you do, you trade down 7 times and you can get players that I'm going to have them picking here at number 9. So I'm just going to do a simple mock draft right now, and we will go through it. I'll do the full first 2 rounds, and I'll have some thoughts on the Seahawks picks as well. And like I say, this is going to be really different to the ones that I've done in the past. So number 1 overall, who are Jacksonville going to take? I think it's going to be a defensive lineman, pretty obviously, given what they've done so far this offseason. And the player that I'm going to have them drafting here is Aiden Hutchinson of Michigan. I think that there are concerns about his arm length, of course, but a safe pick, a player that is generally regarded as explosive and quick and agile. And I think Jacksonville in this spot will just take him there and feel that he can be a building block for them moving forward. What are Detroit going to do at number 2? I don't think they're going to take Malik Willis. I think if they take a quarterback, it'll be a little bit later on, although, there's no reason why they couldn't take one at number 2 and then sitting behind Jared Goff for a year, but I don't think they're going to do that. What I think the Lions are going to do here, now they're sorted at tackle. I don't think Ike Ekwonu or Evan Neal are tackles. I think they're both guards. And I think both could be really good guards. And what I think they're going to do is they're going to tap into the character, and they're going to tap into the physicality, and they're going to try and build a fantastic O-line with his 2nd overall pick here. And I'm going to have them taking Ike Ekwonu. And I don't think he deserves to go this high. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people, but I'm reading the tea leaves. I'm listening to certain things. And I think there's a good chance that he's going to go as high as this. And if he doesn't go in number 2, I think he probably is going to go in the top 5 one way or another. Number 3, Houston. What are they going to do? They've got a few options there. They are keeping Laramie Tunsil, which perhaps means they're less likely to go for offensive line. I am going to have them taking a defensive pick here. I'm going to have them taking Travon Walker. Again, the tea leaves seem to be suggesting that Travon Walker is going to go in the top 5. I think it's very, very likely, whether it's to the Texans, whether it's to the Lions, whether it's to the Jets or the Giants, I think he's going to go very, very early. And I've got him going number 3 here to the Houston Texans. Watch it happen. Okay, number 4. This guy's not going to fall too far. Kayvon Thibodeau is too good to fall as far as people are saying. I think there's a lot of nonsense being said about him. Maybe he won't go number 1, 2, 3. I don't think he's going to last for very long, though. I've got him going number 4 to the Jets, and he'd be an ideal pick for Robert Sala's defense there. And I think he'd be a terrific pick for the Jets there. Number 5 for the Giants. They've got to improve that offensive line. They have got a franchise left tackle. Now they need to build up the other positions. I think they'll do that here with Evan Neal, who they could try at right tackle initially. I think his long-term future is at guard, though. It's not a bad pick, whether it's tackle or guard, though. I think he is a good player to take here at number 5 for the Giants. Not special player, but certainly a player that can play in the league for a long, long time. Right. Number 6, Carolina. This is when people are going to go, well, they don't have another pick for the next 2 rounds, and they need a quarterback. And it's been a bit of a shambles what's happened this offseason for them with their, trying to get an offensive coordinator who was really good, couldn't get one. And now they're sort of circling back around. What are they going to do? What are they going to do for quarterbacks? They can't convince anybody to go there. I'll tell you what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to try and trade down, and I'm going to have the Los Angeles Chargers moving up for this pick. We need to get the right conference here in the simulator. Here we're doing Carolina, that's it. Okay, 17-6. We'll say they give up their third rounder and a second rounder next year. It doesn't really matter. Look, forget what I'm kind of doing here in terms of compensation. It doesn't matter. We're just going to try and make the trade happen. Okay, it's a decline. It will go back to it. You know what? I'll just give them the first pick next year as well, just to get the trade done. Like I say, I'm not here to sort of say what's a realistic trade, what's not a realistic trade. I'm just saying I want to be able them to move up so I can portray an example here in this mock draft. So I've got the Chargers moving up to number 6. Here we go. Who are they going to take? The player that's going to finish off their defense, Jordan Davis, who had a fantastic combine, and they need a nose tackle. I don't think they have many other holes. Therefore, they don't really need 100 picks in this draft. They don't have a second rounder because they spent it on Khalil Mack. Move up and get Jordan Davis, finish things off. You've got 2 great edge rushers. You've got a fantastic nose tackle. You've got a good safety. You've got a good cornerback in J.C. Jackson who's come in. You've got a good quarterback. You've got good receivers. You've got a good left tackle. They've got running backs. They've got everything. So they could be a contender. And I think this is the kind of move that a contender makes. And they're in the same city as LA. So why not be aggressive like they were to win a Super Bowl? I think this is the right move for the LA Chargers to move up and the right move for Carolina to move down. So what about the Giants? Their second pick. They're going to have a look. I think it'd be a best player available type of move. Sauce Gardner here is who I'm going to have them taking. So tackle first, cornerback second for them. Now, what about the Atlanta Falcons? Again, people are going to go, are they going to go quarterback? Look, they traded Matt Ryan, and within seconds, they'd overpaid Marcus Mariota to come in on a 2-year deal. That, to me, yeah, of course, they needed to get somebody in the building. They couldn't just wait till number 8. I don't think that's the precursor to them drafting a quarterback at number 8. I think that's a precursor to the waiting for next year and probably starting Marcus Mariota this year. So, and we'll see, maybe later in the draft, they'll take one. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback here. Much to my chagrin, I think they're going to take Jermaine Johnson, who for some reason is ranked as the 23rd best player in this simulator, but he's not the 23rd best player. Right, I've got a super chat coming in. This is what Isaac has said. He says, thank you so much for what you do. Trade down. Well, trading down is obviously an option, isn't it? It's something that you can consider here. But I don't want to trade down. I don't want to miss out. I think actually trading into the teens for a team like Seattle, I mean, like for Carolina, who haven't got any picks, it makes sense to acquire some stock, fill some gaps in your draft board in a great draft, and maybe you can get a quarterback later on. From the Seahawks point of view, trading into the teens for me will just take you out of range for some really good players. And, what are you going to get in the middle of the first round? I don't know. For an extra third round pick or something, for me, I'm not. They might trade down. It's John Schneider. I don't think they're going to do that here. Now, everybody knows what my preference would be in this situation, but I'm not doing the mock draft. This is not Rob's mock draft. This is not me being the GM. I'm not making picks that I want them to make. I'm making picks that they might make. I'm making a projection of what might happen here, not what I want to happen. What I would want them to do is take Devontae Wyatt, who's rated at number 36. I think he's Geno Atkins. I think he might be better than Geno Atkins. That's the kind of player that I would want them to take. But, alas, I don't think they're going to do that. They have done nothing at offensive tackle. Pete Carroll's just been on Softy's show on KJR. Softy was asking for questions for people to send in. I sent one in and said, could you ask him about the offensive tackle, how concerned he is about it? Is there anything imminent happening there? And Pete Carroll replied that he saw it as a real concern, that they had not been able to bring people in. And he referenced that they'd like to bring Dwayne Brown back, but for whatever reason, they've not been able to come to an agreement on that so far. So no Dwayne Brown, no Brandon Shell, no Trent Brown. He's gone back to New England. The well is drying up at the offensive tackle position, and the well is drying up in terms of Seattle's cap space. Right now, they're looking like they're in a bit of a situation there. So I don't want them to go and take an offensive tackle here, but I'm not so stubborn that I'm never going to project it because it's not what I want to happen. If they do take a player, an offensive tackle in the top 10, I think it'll be this guy, Trevor Penning. Why do I think Trevor Penning? First of all, Charles Cross, I think, is overrated. He's not explosive, 26-inch vertical. Didn't test well in the agility testing. Runs well in a straight line. And in his mirror drills, he looks pretty good on tape. Not a great run blocker. Knee bend's not good. I'm not convinced by Charles Cross. Not the biggest guy. I'm just not sold on him. I'm not sold on him being a franchise tackle at all. And Trevor Penning might not be. Trevor Penning was tried at right guard at the Senior Bowl for a reason. Because I think a lot of teams think he might have to kick inside to guard. It might be where he's best. But at the same time, he's 6'7". He's 325 pounds. I think he ran a 4.89 or 4.92 or something like that at the combine. He's explosive. It was a TEF tester of 3.06. He was agile. He has got the kind of profile of a left tackle that goes in the top 10. And he ain't getting out in the top 15, despite whatever these rankings say. So, not my personal choice. Wouldn't hate the pick. I just rather them go and try and create a fantastic defense. But right now, they don't have a left tackle. So, I'm going to give them Trevor Penning in this particular projection, and then we'll have a look at the options for pass rush a little bit later on. Jets, what are they going to do? I have a real hard time figuring out the Jets at number 10. And if there are any Jets fans watching this, which there may be, because they've got 2 top 10 picks, why wouldn't they look at anything that has mock draft in the title? Don't shout in the comment section or the live chat. I have no idea what you're going to do at number 10. I think number 4 is quite easy to work out what the Jets are going to do, but this is like a bit of a no man's land pick for the Jets. They've filled a lot of holes, and like some of the best players in this range generally are positions that they don't really need. Kyle Hamilton testing the way that he did, I have a hard time putting him with the Jets, frankly. I don't see it. And I think it's too early for Lewis Seen, who I think would be a better fit at safety in Robert Sala's system and the way that he plays. So I don't see them going necessarily in that direction, although they could do. And look, I know that they have a really good defensive tackle who they've drafted very, very early. And this might make this pick redundant. But he's coming up to a contract. How much do you pay him? Quinnen Williams, I'm talking about. And can you replace him or can you partner someone with him? I just really like Devontae Wyatt. How many guys who are 305 pounds run a 4.78 or 4.77 or whatever it was? He's explosive, he's quick, he's strong, he's disruptive, his pressure percentage is fantastic, his run stop percentage is fantastic. I think he could be a star. And guys like Aaron Donald have lasted to, 12, 13 in the first round. And Geno Atkins lasted to round 4. I think in a few years' time, we might look back and say, how on earth did Devontae Wyatt last this long? I just think he's a special player. And I think if you're picking 10 and there's not an obvious standout target for you in that range, take someone who could be special. And I think Devontae Wyatt could be. Washington Commanders. Let's have a look at what they're going to do. I'm going to have them taking Kyle Hamilton here. They need sort of players who can play safety and linebacker, and he can kind of do both. So I think that's quite easy to pair them with him. I'm still a big Derek Stingley fan. I don't get all the negativity about him. I think it's more a case of a review of what LSU became than he became. And yeah, he's had some injuries, but look, the guy's talented. He jumped like a 42-inch vertical and a 4.30 40 at the same weight that he is now at Spark. And when he tests, if he's healthy, he'll do it again. I think his stock might move up. And if I was the Seahawks, I'd think about taking this guy because I think he could be a legendary cornerback if he puts it all together. We've got Houston at number 13. This was originally Cleveland's pick. I'm going to have them taking Trent McDuffie here. I think he's kind of a safe pick for them. They need a cornerback, so I've got him going in this range. Baltimore at number 14. The Ravens fans are going to hate this, but I've got them taking Boya Mafe. It's just worked out superbly. Zadarius Smith's not going there anymore. I think why not take an edge rusher at 14? People will say it's a bit of a reach. Well, maybe they move down a little bit and take him, but I don't think it is a reach. I think he's done everything. Senior Bowl was amazing. Testing's amazing. He jumped a 42-inch vertical at his pro day, runs well. He's got an awful lot about him in terms of, I think, being a top 20 pick. So I've got no problems putting him there. I just want to see this question because I think this is important. It's not a super chat. And if you want to, chuck a question in, I'm only going to focus on this. But I just want to reiterate this. Tom says, if you like Wyatt so much, why not let the Seahawks pick him? Because I'm not doing a mock draft for what I want or believe in. I'm doing a mock draft based on what I think the Seahawks might do and what other teams might do. This is a projection mock draft, not a Rob Staton's preferences mock draft. And I did just refer to myself in the third person there. So apologies. And this one from Daniel says, Rob is really undervaluing Carl Aftis and compared him to AJ Epineza. But Carl Aftis, listen, I did not compare him to AJ Epineza. I compared in terms of the types of player they are. I compared him to AJ Epineza, was a player that everyone said was going to go in the top 15 for 3 months and end up in round 2. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen with George Karlaftis. George Karlaftis on a highlights video looks fantastic. And then you actually watch the tape and you notice that doesn't really have much of an edge rush. It's more about bull rush. He had very few sacks in his college career. He hasn't got long arms. He's got a frame that does not lend itself. It's not long and lean, which you want in a pass rusher. There are issues there. And I guarantee there'll be teams that have George Karlaftis graded in round 1. I accept that is going to be true. But I think that there could be 9 other guys at edge rusher who get graded in round 1. And they're probably not all going to go in round 1. Some are going to slip through the cracks. So I don't think he's going to go as high as some other people do. And it's not about me underrating, undervaluing him. I'm just sort of assessing what I see on tape and what I think he is. Right, back to the mock draft. Number 15, Philadelphia. I think this could be the range where the first receiver comes off the board. Garrett Wilson. They love speed in Philadelphia. He's got it. I've got another trade coming up here now. I think the Eagles will, they've got 3 picks. They can move around a bit. They can add some stock. They've got some good options here. Look who's after Philadelphia, Carolina. I think the Steelers are smitten with Malik Willis. Mike Tomlin was at the Senior Bowl getting a good look at him, having a good gander at what he could see from Malik Willis. He took him to dinner last night, apparently, before his pro day. The Steelers are not very good at hiding their intentions. They made it abundantly clear they wanted TJ Watt by going to his pro day with taking half the team down with them to go and watch him specifically. They did the same with Devin Bush, who they traded up for. And I think they're going to do the same for Malik Willis here. I think he's their guy. I think they're going to make sure they get him. I think they're going to sit him behind Trubisky for a year. I think that's what they're going to do, and that's going to be the retiring GM's final move, is to make sure that they get Malik Willis. And I think when they get into this range, they are going to trade up, and they're going to make sure that they get their guy. So let's put Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Oh, I've not done Pittsburgh. So Philadelphia is in. Trade with Pittsburgh. They drop down. What should we say? They give up 3rd to move up 4 spots just to make sure it's on there. Well, they declined it. I mean, there's nothing I can do about this if the system won't let me do it. Given that it's only a 2-round mock draft in full, it doesn't really matter what I put in terms of stock. I just need to make sure that the trade goes through. So let's do it again. I mean, look, I'm not saying that they're going to give up next year's first as well. I just want to get the trade through so they can carry on with the mock. Right, okay. So I don't think it's going to cost anything like that. I mean, it'll be a 3rd, I would say, maybe 3rd and change to move up a few spots to make sure you get your guy. I think Malik Willis will be their guy, and they'll jump ahead of the Panthers. And I don't think the Panthers will mind that much. I think the Panthers need somebody who can potentially start straight away. And maybe they will. I think they could be quite comfortable in this position, say we'll take either or. I think the one thing about Kenny Pickett is that he's probably in the best position of all the quarterbacks in this class to start relatively quickly. So maybe they'll take a chance on Kenny Pickett at number 17 if Willis comes off at 16. I think that's too high for both of those, but I can see those 2 teams doing it. Moving on to New Orleans, I said that I thought he was overrated, and everyone's going to have him in the top 10. I've seen him mocked to Seattle at 9 many times. I don't think Charles Cross is worth a top 10 pick, but if he's still there at number 18, if they lose their tackle, Teron Armstead, to Miami, then this is a good spot for Charles Cross at number 18, in my opinion. So Eagles back on with 2 picks. I don't know if he's going to go this high with his Achilles injury, but if there's a team that can probably stash him and see, it's Philadelphia here with their 3 first-round picks. And, he was a guy who was going to need time anyway. And look, we see what Darrell Taylor, you maybe have a year off, you come back, look what Darrell Taylor's doing in Seattle. It could be a very similar situation for the Eagles here. So I've got them taking David Ojabo. And then at number 20, the cornerbacks are going to go early. I don't know why Kyler Gordon's ranked at number 72 overall. That must be a reaction to his combine, but they're going to go early, and Kyler Gordon's a really good player despite what he ran. So I get, look, the Eagles like speed. I get it. I'm probably going against that. It might not happen, but I like Kyler Gordon in this kind of range. So I'm going to put him there for the Eagles. New England at 21 traded Shaq Mason. That was a bit of a surprise. I think they will try and replace him here with Zion Johnson, who was incredibly explosive testing. I don't think his tape is as good as people think. I don't think his Senior Bowl was as good as people think. But when you test like he did, you will go early. You will go in the first round. So I'm willing to concede that. 22 Green Bay. Receiver time, Chris Olave here at 22. Pretty obvious pick given the situation with Devontae Adams. 23 Arizona. I think the edge rushers are going to come off the board here. I'm going to have Arnold Ebiketie coming off here. He's not the 52nd best player in the draft. 23 to Arizona. 24 for Dallas. I'm going to have them taking a safety, even though they've been adding safeties recently. Lewis Cine is just too good, too physical. And, I think Dan Quinn will say that's my kind of safety. So I think that they will go there. This is a guy who took Keanu Neal, a number 17 overall when he's the Falcons. So the guys with Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas, physical, fast safeties, tone setters, impactful players. Lewis Cine is that. I could see him going to Dallas here at 24. Buffalo at 25. I'm going to have them taking a nose tackle, Travis Jones, who should go in the first round. I think that is a really good range for them. Tennessee, I know they've added Robert Woods. He's coming off a serious injury. I could see them taking another receiver, having cut Julio Jones. And I think this could be the area where Drake London goes. The guy I've been talking about, George Karlaftis, I've got going here to 27 to Tampa Bay. So I have got him in the first round in this projection, but I do think he could slip into round 2. Green Bay at 28, one of my favorite players. They're going to need a right tackle. I think Abraham Lucas will go in the first round, and I've got him going here to the Packers. 29, Miami. Their type of offensive lineman here. Tyler Linderbaum's very overrated, not the 13th overall best player in my view. Got him going 29th to Miami. That's a good scheme fit for him, an ideal scheme fit. Kansas City, Jaron Reed's just signed for the Packers. They'll go and replace him here, in my opinion, with Perry and Winfrey would be a good, and they love athleticism in Kansas City. Perry and Winfrey ran very well at the combine. So I think that will be a good fit for them. I've just seen in the comment section someone saying that Julio Jones has gone to Indy. Is that correct? Has he gone to Indianapolis? Can someone confirm that? Not on Twitter at the moment, so that's very interesting. And Juan with a super chat says, what would you think about taking the best cornerback or edge at number 9, a linebacker or tackle at 40, 41, but then trade up for a QB in the 20s? Which one would you rather have, Willis or Corral? I think I was trading up for a quarterback, there's not really anybody I would want from this class. I don't want them to do that. For me, the ideal would be edge rusher or Devontae Wyatt at 9, or Derek Stingley, a linebacker at 40, and then at 41, if you need a tackle, take one there. Or pass rusher if you've not taken one earlier on, an edge rusher, I mean by that. Or even look at one of these running backs. I think there's value to be had there. There's a few positions you could go at. It's such a loaded draft. I think you could go in a number of different directions. There are cornerbacks I like. You could take at the top of round 2 as well. I wouldn't want to trade back into the first round. I mean, if you had to make me pick between Willis, Corral, and Pickett, it'd probably be Corral. But I'd rather just sort of, move on from the quarterbacks in this draft. Take a Jack Cohen later on, or a Caleb Ellaby, not take one early, build up your team, go with what you've got this year, open up a competition in camp, see what you've got with the players you've got on the roster, and then in a year's time, target Will Levis at Kentucky or see what else is out there. Players emerge every year through the draft, so I think it's very interesting. Tom is saying that Julio Jones has not gone to Indianapolis. It is just a wish, so it's not happened. So thanks for confirming though, Tom. And if anyone wants to chuck a super chat in, please feel free, especially if you've got a question. I will come to those in the super chat. Cincinnati, what is the kind of thing they like to do? They like to draft cornerbacks early. Kind of Elam is their kind of guy. He's had some inconsistencies, but talented player, the type of player the Bengals like to pick. And then Detroit at 32. I did say, I'm leaning on the information that I have been given, which is 3 quarterbacks can go in the first round. When I spoke to Scott McLuhan, I trust him because he's one of the best talent evaluators around. And I'm going to have the 3 going in the first round because I'm going to have Matt Corral going here to the Detroit Lions at number 32. So that is and I think he's a sparky guy. He's competitive. He probably does need to sit for a year behind Jared Goff. I think that would be a good fit for them and for him as well. On to round 2. Jacksonville need a tight end. Their head coach, Doug Peterson, has had great success with athletic tight ends. Greg Dulcich looks superb at his pro day. I've got him going at number 33. Lions need receivers. Jameson Williams would go a lot earlier than this if it wasn't for the ACL injury. Terrific player. Great value for them at 34. Jets at 35. I have got them taking a linebacker. Pretty underrated player. 83. No. Quay Walker, number 35, very good player. Will be a solid pick there for the Jets. Giants, number 36. I have got them going offensive line again. Build up that offensive line. This guy's ranked 135. He will go in the second round, I promise you, and he'll be taken as a center for the Giants, not a guard. Cole Strange. Terrific Senior Bowl. Fantastic explosive testing at the combine. Very underrated player somehow. Talking of underrated players, here's another one. Receiver, 37, to the Houston Texans. Look how far I am having to scroll to find this guy. I'm even starting to wonder if I've gone past him. No, I haven't. He's there at number 278 in this ranking list. Kevin Austin is going to go in day 2 as an absolute lock. And I think he's going to go round 2. And I think he's got first round potential. They've got him as 278. I've got him going 37 to the Houston Texans here. Watch him play. You'll see what I mean. 38 for the Jets. There has been talk that the Jets really like Treylon Burks, despite everything that's happened over the last few weeks. So I'll put him there. They badly need a receiver. 39 Chicago. Another player that I really like that I think is being underrated. He's rated 106th here. Jalen Amore Davis. Very athletic, bit of a Rolls Royce at cornerback. Impressive player. Seahawks at 40 and 41. I'm going to have them sticking here. There's every chance they'll move down from one of these picks, but I simply cannot be bothered to come and propose a trade to have them move down a handful of spots. But look, I will just say I think there's a reasonable chance that one of these picks is getting dealt. And it doesn't matter which one because it's back to back, really. As long as you're, if you trade 40, as long as you know who the team's taking, who's trading into that spot, it doesn't matter. But I think probably make a pick at 40 and then trade down from 41, get a fourth or something like that to move down. I think that's very, very likely. I'm just not projecting that here. But, if you want to imagine that scenario, then feel free. Who have I got them taking at 40? I'm going to have them taking a player who is rated 100th overall, which is absolutely balmy. He might not even be on the board at this point. I love Channing Tindall, and I think the Seahawks will love Channing Tindall. Was it something like 42-inch vertical, 40-inch vertical, whatever it was? Ran a short shuttle, which was in the incredible 4.00 time. That's the Seahawks take linebackers who run short shuttles in that range, who are explosive. And he is physical. He flies around the field. He would be even if they want to start Cody Barton to begin the season, Tindall would be an amazing special teamer. Just look at the special teams plays he was making at the Senior Bowl. Amazing, amazing talent. And the kind of physical, fast, aggressive linebacker that I want to see on this team. And I think that if he's there, he could easily be the pick for them at number 40 or 41. And then, like I say, from here, they might trade down. I don't know. But they need an edge rusher. And maybe it's best just not to take a chance. They've got a tackle. They've got a linebacker. They need an edge rusher to come in and rotate with Taylor and with Chinna Nwosu. Not, of course, Dunlap anymore. They've still got Alton Robinson. So I'm going to have them taking Sam Williams here. Ran a 1.60 10-yard split. Anything in the 1.5s is elite. He's just missed out on that. I think he ran a 4.47 at the combine off memory. He's got the arm length they like. Great pass rusher. Not particularly great against the run, but if he's playing outside linebacker, maybe it doesn't matter quite as much, especially if he's going to be rotating in with Nwosu or Taylor. So I think as someone who is good at screaming off the edge, getting after the quarterback, I think there's something to work with there. And I think he has some of that aggressiveness that Darrell Taylor wants. And they seem to want somebody who shares that kind of mentality that Taylor has. So for me, Sam Williams, if Jermaine Johnson and Kayvon Thibodeau are not there at 9, if you do want to take that tackle at 9, I think Sam Williams is probably the best option at the top of round 2. And again, you might be able to trade down 9 picks and get him. I think he was rated 50 on this draft board. That's probably about where he needs to go. I think that he would be, if you're not going to get that pass rush early, make sure you come away with someone like Sam Williams, would be my advice. And then you've got Williams, you've got Tindall, adding to your front 7, you've got a tackle for the future that you believe in. Look, not the direction I would have personally gone. I probably would have taken Devontae Wyatt at number 9, taken Tindall and said, Georgia were pretty good last year. I'll have 2 Georgia Bulldogs for my first 2 picks. Who'd bet against that with the way that they played, winning the national championship last year? If you cannot have enough Georgia defenders, as far as I'm concerned, from this draft, just go and get them. Go and get all of them if you can. But having 2 with your first 2 picks would be a really smart move. And then I would still take Sam Williams. So then I would have Devontae Wyatt rushing the passer up the middle. Sam Williams off the edge with Nwosu and Taylor, and Channing Tindall at linebacker. I would be perfectly fine with that. If they want to go with big tackle instead in Trevor Penning, I don't think he's going to be special. I think Devontae Wyatt is, but if they want to go in that direction, I think they might do, given the tackle situation right now, given that they've already brought in Shelby Harris, for example, and Quinton Jefferson. That makes it less likely they're going to draft a defensive tackle at number 9 overall, let's be honest. If they go for the defensive tackle first, then maybe you take an edge rusher here at 41. So that's what I've got them doing. Penning, and again, not my personal preference. It's what I think might happen. Penning first pick, Tindall second, Williams third. Moving on, and I will talk about some of the Seattle's other picks in a couple of moments as well. 42, Indianapolis, their first pick in this draft. Used to be Washington's pick. Now it's Indianapolis's because of the Carson Wentz trade. I've got them taking another explosive linebacker that I really like, and I think he could be an option for Seattle. 138. But it could be an option for Seattle if Channing Tindall's not there. Leo Chenal. People know how much I love him. I've interviewed him. Head over to the YouTube channel or the Rebuild Seattle Seahawks podcast on Spotify or on Apple or wherever you get your podcast. You will hear an interview with Leo Chenal that I did last week. Go and check that out. Atlanta at 43. They don't really have any skill players. They're going to need some skill players. I could see them taking the first running back off the board here. The kind of the consensus feeling is that the profile of Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker is first round, but they're going to last into the second because they're running backs. Same thing happens to Jonathan Stewart. I don't think either of these guys are Jonathan Stewart, but still, I think this is the kind of range where they're going to come off. So Breece Hall at 43 to Atlanta. Cleveland at 44. Keep an eye on this guy potentially for Seattle. Big-time leader, built like a bodybuilder, great character, very mature, already a father, carries himself with a lot of maturity. Wore number 18 for LSU. Everybody who knows LSU knows that they give that shirt, that jersey number, to the player that sort of personifies leadership. Damone Clark's had it for a couple of years. So he wore number 18. He goes at 44 here to Cleveland. Baltimore at 45, one of my other favorite players in this draft, Mr. Cam Jurgens, who for some reason is rated 100 places lower than he's going to go. Cam Jurgens here at number 45. Terrific player, very aggressive center. Another player that I really like at number 46 is, let me find him. Where are you? At 192 overall. Ridiculous. He's going to go in day 2. Joshua Paschal. Incredibly explosive. Not a great edge rusher, but unbelievable against the run. Very explosive. Heart and soul type player. Very good player. Would be an excellent pick for Minnesota. I love Minnesota's. I mean, they get Derek Stingley and Josh Paschal to go with. I mean, like maybe because they've signed Zadarius Smith today and they've kept Danielle Hunter, they don't need a Paschal, but I think he's more of an inside out rusher anyway. So he's somebody who can mix in and out. Hunter's had some injuries. Zadarius Smith's had some injuries. Yeah, they could still go for somebody like that. Washington at 47. They need a linebacker. Devin Lloyd's not tested as well as his production, and I don't think he's as good as some people think. So I think he's going to last a little bit longer here. 48, Chicago. Tyler Smith, who could be a guard, could be a tackle. They'll work that out. I've got him going here. We've got a couple of super chats. I want to come to those very quickly. Let me see. Okay, Austin says, which running back do you like best for Seattle and where would they be available? Look, I like the profiles of Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall. I'm just not sure that I'd want to go in that direction with Seattle's first 3 picks. So the guys that I like the most are Zamir White from Georgia. I think he could be around 3. And Damian Pierce at Florida, who I think also could be around 3. They are physical runners. They're the kind of runners, yards after contact, tone setting, energize the defense and the rest of the roster kind of players that Seattle has gone for. They're the 2 that I would look for. But look, they are there's a whole bunch of names. Let me see if I can run through some of these quickly for you, Austin, in the running back position. So I'm not a fan of Isaiah Spiller, and he didn't test well at his pro day. I'm not bothered there. Rashad White's not the type of player they go for. Tyler Algier, if he was there on day 3, I'd consider it. Jerome Ford's got some skill. I don't mind James Cook. I'm not sure he's that Seattle's type of player. Brian Robinson's explosive and physical. Zonovan Knight, quick feet, really like him. Damian Pierce, I've talked about. Pierre Strong's got a bit of ability to him, quite quick, quite tough. Hassan Haskins played very well for Michigan, tough player. I'm trying to see the other guys that I really like. Isaiah Pacheco, his backstory is incredibly. It's just so heartbreaking to hear what that guy's gone through in his life, and he plays every single game like it's his last. And he had a brilliant pro day, and he's somebody that I would love to see in Seattle if he was available later on. So I really like him. I'm really going down the list here now to find some Max Borgi. I mean, he's not the 395th best player in this draft. I'm sorry. He would have tested brilliantly if he was healthy at the combine. So ignore. He will be, I think he'll be a fourth round pick, frankly, and he could go higher than that. And Snoop Connor, love Snoop Connor. They have him as the 800th best player in this draft. BS. And I see that he's right in front of Tyrion Davis Price. BS that he's going to last that long as well. I've got those two guys way higher. I've got Davis Price as a third round pick, Snoop Connor as a fourth. I would love to see either of those two guys in Seattle. If they're there in the undrafted range at 800th best players in this draft, one, I'll eat my hat. And two, I would love to see the Seahawks have them as well. I mean, I just think that is preposterous. A couple more super chats before we get back into the mock. This one from Nano says, Hawks seem to be going to a full 3-4 front. Desai adding Jefferson as a 5-tech and Wosu cutting Dunlop Mayowa. Does that affect your projections? A beastly 3/5-tech hybrid seems the biggest need if this is true. Well, look, I think, does it affect my projections? Yeah, but then Jermaine Johnson worked out with the linebackers at the combine. So he, to me, is ideally suited to that sort of outside linebacker position. And the league feels that as well because, they're putting him in the linebacker workouts there. So it doesn't change anything there. I think the players that I've been kind of looking at anyway have been more with that idea in mind because it's obviously been made very aware that they're kind of switching to either a full 3-4, as you suggested, Nano, or that it's going to be some kind of 3-4 hybrid, but predominantly maybe a base 3-4. So yeah, I have been looking at players that more align with that. I've been considering that with the linebackers as well. Does a beastly 3 technique feel like the biggest need? I mean, I don't know because they've brought in Shelby Harris. They've brought back Quinton Jefferson. They've got Poona Ford. Al Woods kind of plays across the line despite his size. Brian Monet is kind of that nose tackle type, but I'm sure they've played him at 3 technique and stuff like that. So you've got a lot of bodies in that area, haven't you? The Cats, that's Monet, Jefferson, Woods, Ford, Harris. Have I missed anybody? That's at least 5 for 3 positions, and that's 3 positions early. Maybe less on obvious passing downs. I don't know. I don't know. I would maybe suggest that I don't think that necessarily that the biggest need is Wyatt. I'd love to see it. I mean, I'd love to see Devontae Wyatt come in as that, game-wrecking interior presence. It's the one thing that they've lacked for a long, long time. I'll be celebrating if they make that pick, and I'd take him at 9. People could say it's a reach. People are saying just watch him play. Watch him play. He's so quick. He's so disruptive. He's got violent hands. He's got everything except 33-inch arms. Everything. If he had 33-inch arms and he turned his pressure percentage into a few more sacks, and I don't blame him for that at all, by the way. I haven't watched his tape. There's nothing there that says he should be getting more sacks to me. I'm quite content with everything that he does up front. If he had 5, 6, 7 sacks last year instead of 2.5, and he had 33-inch arms, we'd be talking about him as a top 10 lock, a top 12 lock. And I think he will go in that range, frankly. And that's why I've got him going at number 10. Is it Seattle's biggest need, though? I'm not sure. How could you say that when they don't even have a left tackle or a right tackle on the team right now? And Carroll's saying it's a major concern. Yeah, I think that is the big need probably right now is offensive tackle. But also, I don't think Nwosu is enough to take your pass rush to the next level. So I still think they need an edge rusher as well. Corey says, thank you for the content, Rob. The NFC has lost a lot of talent this past season. If the Hawks honestly focus on the rebuild properly, they can legitimately compete in 2 years. I completely agree with that. Get this right. I think even by 2023, you could be contending. I think if you've got a rookie quarterback, the chances of you actually winning a Super Bowl are very unlikely in 2023. But I think you could be a good team in the NFC, a playoff team in 2023 if you get this right. But I don't think it's going to happen this year. And I think perhaps they know it. and that's why they're talking up Drew Lock. We'll see. Okay, if there's any more super chats, I'll come to them. I'm going to crack on with a few picks now, though. 49 New Orleans. I think this is the kind of player that suits them. Jahan Dotson at receiver, 49. Miami at number 50. Apologies if some of these are not needs. I've not kept up with every single move that teams have been doing during free agency. If some of these are not needs anymore, like I say, you have my apologies. Where? Oh my word, where are we going here? I've not seen the guy that I'm looking for. Please tell me they don't have him rated this low. Where is he? Have I missed him? I'm looking for Troy Anderson. Have I just missed him here? There he is. 118. He's going to go in round 2. 51, Philadelphia. What have I got them doing here? I've got them taking. I don't know if they're going to do this. I'm kind of second guessing this mock draft as I'm doing it, but it's not a perfect science. You have to accept my apologies on this. But I've got them taking Kenneth Walker. They're running back situations a bit all over the place. They kind of have a lot of bodies there, but nobody ever seems to stay healthy or wrestle the role. Maybe they'll look at value here and take Kenneth Walker. And I do think he's the kind of player that Philadelphia, explosive, quick, fast, they can make a lot of use of there. Pittsburgh at 52. I love this pick for Pittsburgh. I love this player. Nick Cross, fantastic. Headhunting, quick, violent safety, their kind of player. Green Bay, I've got them taking Christian Harris here. I think this is the kind of range he's going to go. He ran a 4.4 at the combine. New England, I've got them. I think this is a very New England player. I'm going to have to dig him out. Brian Cook. He is he's their kind of like hybrid kind of player, safety, the kind of player that I can imagine Bill Belichick really liking. 55 Arizona. They feel like they've needed a cornerback since forever. I've got them taking another one here at Roger McCreary, who I like. He's just small. Dallas at 56. I've got them tapping into the potential of Tariq Woolen. They like athletes at cornerback, so I'm going to see them taking a chance on them, see if in a couple of years' time it can turn into something. 57 Buffalo, I've got them getting a nose tackle early on. Now I'll have them taking an inside-out rusher, which is what he is. He's not a defensive tackle, really. Logan Hall, building up that defensive line. Atlanta at 58, like I said, they need weapons. I really like Christian Watson. I think he's not just going to be a really good receiver. He's not just fast. He's not just physical. He's going to be a leader for a team that takes him. I think he's a terrific player. Very interested to see how he gets on at the next level. 59 Green Bay. Tight ends, I've soured on a little bit just because there's no buzz there about them. I was disappointed that a lot of them didn't do all the testing either. There's some really good agility times out there, which have put a lot of these guys on Seattle's board. But this guy didn't run. He's not really got any momentum behind him. However, in this range, great value. I think he is a good player, blocks well, aggressive player, catches the ball well. Could be a good option for Green Bay. Tampa Bay at 60. I've got them taking Bernard Ryman. It says tackle, but I think he's going to kick inside to guard. Might be a swing tackle initially in year 1 and year 2, but someone to work with. San Francisco, they have spent money on a cornerback already. Andrew Booth, who I've got last. Until he tests, I can't really judge him. He's somebody I'm kind of like, not sure where to place Andrew Booth. Is he higher than this? Is he lower than this? I need to see him test. Like the guy, it's hard to know what to do with him in a mock draft. 62 Kansas City. I've got them taking a safety here, Jaquan Brisker. Cincinnati at number 63. They've done a good job with their offensive line. I think this guy's massively overrated. I don't understand why I see him in mock drafts in the first round. He tested poorly at Combine and his pro day. I don't get it. I just do not get it. I don't know why he's in the first round. I don't even know why I've put him in the second round. I don't get it at all. But there you go. He's in 63. There's some people are promoting him. I don't know. I don't get it. And then at 64, another player that I'm just, tape's fine, but he's 5'11" and he's about 220 pounds. How does that work in the NFL? And we've seen players. Who was the guy from Notre Dame who had the double barrel name, who went in the last couple of years, who was small like Nakobe Dean, played well for Notre Dame, but ended up going Awusu Koromoa, was it? When ended up deep into round 2. I don't know, some injury issues there as well, but he lasted because of his size. Where do you play him? Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? No one's going to play Nakobe Dean at safety, but again, he's just not. There aren't many players like him in the NFL. You can go, okay, yeah, 5'11", 220-pound linebacker who's not done any testing. That's the problem. That is the problem. Little advert there for Pro Football Network's draft guide. But I think the simulator is still good for stuff like this. So go and check it out. Go and check out their work as well, because Tony Pauline's there, friend of the blog, great guy, fantastic resource. Okay, so there's the 2 rounds. I want to talk about 72 as well, and then a couple of other things I think the Seahawks might do. And I just I was struck by fear as I was putting this mock draft together at what they might do at 72, because again, they've not done enough with this offensive tackle position. They've left it completely They've not even brought somebody in for like a $2 million and just said, okay, he's going to fill in a spot there. They've kind of just ignored it completely, and I'm curious by that. And do they think there's a couple of really good tackles in this draft? Are we going to see them take a Trevor Penning at 9 like I've got in this mock? And then are they going to take somebody in 40, 41? If Abraham Lucas is there, they're going to take that as well. Do they see this? Well, I'm talking about building a foundation. I guess you could argue a tackle at 9 and a tackle at 40 or 41 is kind of building a foundation. It's on the O-line instead of the defensive line. I can't really knock them for that if that's what they want. I love Abraham Lucas. I like Trevor Penning. I wouldn't be complaining too much about it. I just think it'd be a massive missed opportunity to create an amazing pass rush. And they haven't done anything in free agency, really. I mean, okay, Nwosu, I like Nwosu. He's come in, good signing. But I think he's a hedge. I don't think he's a game-changing defensive player. So I'd like to see them go front 7 defense. They might go for offensive line. But when I'm sort of looking at 73, and I'm kind of thinking, what could they do? I'd like them to sign a couple of tackles so that they can let the draft come to them. Take the best player available. In round 3, if that's a receiver, if that's a cornerback, if that's a running back, if that's a tight end, if that's a whatever, take them for the value. Take them for the talent. Don't take them because you need somebody. I'm just a bit worried they're going to take someone because they need somebody. I'm going to come on to 72 in a moment. Let's just sort of get to that point, and then I'll talk about it. So coming off at 65 here, and again, this at this point, I've not studied all 32 teams. I've studied one team very, very close, and I've got kind of an idea on what some of the teams have got in terms of needs, because I've had a look on the internet. I don't know when it gets to sort of the 65th pick whether I'm still picking guys that deserve to be there necessarily. So Daxton Hill at 65. Lions, give them some edge rush. Drake Jackson here. New York Giants, give them a quarterback, just to throw into the mix. Desmond Ridder. Houston, I've got taking a tight end. I do think there are some talented tight ends here who are going to produce some value. I think Jeremy Ruckett's one of those. Jets, they love athletic offensive linemen. I really like this guy. I feel like we were on him before a lot of other people. Clearly, because he's ranked at 177 overall here. Zach Tom, I think he's a center at the next level. Terrific. Played well at left tackle for Wake Forest. I think he's worth a look there, to be perfectly honest. 70 Jacksonville, back on the clock. Let's give him another cornerback here. I think Cam Taylor-Britt is a superb player who wants to go in this kind of range. And then Chicago, 71. Let's give Justin Fields a weapon. And look, you could make a case for him. Alec Pierce, terrific. You could make a case for John Mechie. Would have gone early, but for the injury. You can make a case for Jalen Tolbert, Alvin Austin, Al Phillips. I'm going to have them taking Wan'Dale Robinson. I think there's a bit of Golden Tate in Wan'Dale Robinson. I like gritty player. And then Seattle, and now on to sort of the fear that I had, and sort of what I'm thinking here. And I'll just refer to this comment. No way in hell Ridder lasts until 67. I've watched nearly all of his games from last season. I don't mean to say this in a patronizing way. Have you seen all of his games from 2021 to say there's no way in hell that Desmond Ridder's going to last to the top of round 3? It happens. I thought Davis Mills and Kellen Mond should have gone a lot earlier than they did last year. They lasted to the top of round 3. It's not a good quarterback class. Desmond Ridder is not a first or second round lock. Let's just be clear about that. People like Chris Sims are grading him in. It's the 5th best player in this class behind even Sam Howell. So I see a lot of people are going to take a running back here. I would be happy with that. Zamir White, Damian Pierce, count me in. Especially because you can't trust Chris Carson and Rashad Penny to stay healthy. But I'm not going to have them taking a running back here. This is what I was worried about. They have just had Trent Brown in for a visit. Trent Brown is about 380 pounds when he's not had any breakfast. That might be the way that they want to go with size at that position. And when I look at the Rams' offensive line, they just have guys on the interior. Their center's just a guy. And now the Seahawks have got Austin Blythe. Let's be right, it's just a guy. They have a couple of converted tackles playing guard. And who knows what's going to happen with the Seahawks at guard and who wins those jobs under this new regime. I wouldn't assume that Damian Lewis and Gabe Jackson are going to be starting there. We'll see what happens. And then they have had Andrew Whitworth and Joe Noteboom, who are very athletic players at left tackle, but big. And then they've had Rob Havenstein, who I would just consider a great big lump at right tackle. Huge, enormous human being. And then the Seahawks bring Trent Brown in for a visit. And they're not being linked with any other right tackles right now. I do not rate Daniel Farlele that highly. I think he's too big. I think he needs to lose. I think he needs to be 390 pounds or 400 pounds, whatever everybody was saying. You move well for a 400-pound man. Well, why don't you move well for a 375-pound man, frankly? You don't need to be 400 pounds. And on tape, he moves pretty well for his size. I give him that. He moves pretty well. It's impressive. But there are so many snaps where people just get under him with leverage because he's so tall. And then once you get that leverage, it's like watching like a giraffe falling over. It's just like a tree falling in the woods, a great big tree. Just go, like he just goes down very slowly, kind of loses balance, and he's down on his backside, and he's given up a pressure. And we saw it at the Senior Bowl. I think it was D'Angelo Malone, who weighed about 230 pounds, dumped him on his backside. He loses leverage too much. He doesn't plant his anchor and sort of just, even if he just kind of stood there in the way, he's hard to get round. But that might be what they're thinking. He's tough to get round. He fills a lot of space. We'll put Will Disley next to him, and that'll be the right-hand side covered. That might be what they do. So the Trent Brown attempt might be a tell that they take this guy there. And like I say, they haven't done anything at tackle. Nothing. Not signed anybody. They've only been linked with Trent Brown. They kind of want Dwayne Brown back, but at their price. They're running out of cap space. I do think that they're going to look at Baker Mayfield at their price. Like I say, this is not my mock. This is not what I would do. But tell me it's not a viable point when they have Trent Brown in for a visit, who is similarly a huge human being. So there you go. Daniel Farlele. So this is what I've got the Seahawks doing. And again, not my cup of tea, as we say over here, with Daniel Farlele, or taking an offensive tackle at number 9. But based on what Seattle's needs are, this to me feels somewhat realistic. 2 tackles, a linebacker, and an edge with the first 4 picks. I think that makes an awful lot of sense based on what their needs are. I would rather Seattle bring back Dwayne Brown, bring in or sign Eric Fisher, and bring in a right tackle who can hold the fort for a year. Because the objective is completely different now. They're in a rebuild. If Russell Wilson was the quarterback, I'd say they need to go and spend a lot of money on a right tackle and a left tackle. Right now, you need a right tackle who can do the job and compete with Jake Curhan, and you need a guy who can come in and compete with Stone Forsythe, probably win that job. As much as I expect this to be a pretty miserable season for the Seahawks, and I'm totally on board with having a top 3 pick next year to build for the future, I also don't want to see, if you have a really bad left tackle, then you can lose. There's losing and there's losing. And I don't want to be losing, if that makes sense. Getting hammered, the quarterback getting hammered, different quarterback every week because he can't stay healthy because he keeps getting destroyed off the left side, the right side, up the middle, whatever. I don't want to see that either. I'd like the Seahawks to lose somewhat competitively, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's why I'd kind of prefer to see Dwayne Brown or Eric Fisher. Plus, it would move them away from taking Trevor Penning at number 9. But right now, that's you have to fight that. You have to fight against that because of the needs. And as a foundational draft, 2 tackles, a linebacker, and an edge rusher, that's a foundation that you're trying to build there. So there we go. That's what I've got them taking. What would they do at 109? Probably a cornerback, I would say, is a decent possibility there in round 4. That's round 4 is an area where they've kind of taken receivers, cornerbacks in this range. I think Martin Emerson, if he was still there, he looks a lot like a Seahawks corner traditionally. I know that they're going for more man cover corners now, but I liked the look of Martin Emerson at the combine. I think he is somebody that'd be worth keeping an eye on. Alontae Taylor showed well at the combine. Caleb Evans, decent player. Marcus Jones, a great return man. I thought Jalen Watson had a decent combine as well. So you've got a few players there. I mean, it might be that you wait until round 5. Montaric Brown's a player that I really like. They've got him as the 48th best player in the draft. I can't believe that. But you might be able to get some of these guys. I mean, Brown might be there round 5. So it might be that they wait till round 5. If they do, then what else could they do with round 4? Well, I think they might go after this guy, Jack Cohen, who doesn't even warrant a report on this site and is rated as the 228th best player. I think they could take him in round 4, chuck him into the mix. I don't think there's a big drop between Jack Cohen and the other quarterbacks in this class. I think they could take him in round 4. The other quarterback that they might have a look at is Caleb Ellaby, in that same kind of range. As this report says there, it's correct. Has a good arm, smart. They will have seen him very closely because he was D. Eskridge's quarterback at Western Michigan. Didn't have a great 2021 season, didn't elevate himself, but in 2020, playing with Eskridge, looked very good. I could see him being a target in round 4, round 5 as well. So Caleb Ellaby, Jack Cohen, 2 players to keep an eye on there. I'm not going to take them a running back. We've been through some of the names that I like. They could take a running back in round 5 as well. Would they go after it? I think it'd be weird not to take a tight end at some point, given the great options and given there are so many players that kind of tick the agility box for Seattle. So I could see them going in that range as well. And look, there are other guys. Thomas Booker, I quite like, a defensive tackle. Where's he and the I think Thomas Booker there. I think he's a good player. Ayoma Uwazurike, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a slightly older player, I think, but like what I saw on tape from him. You maybe look at defensive lineman later on as well. But that's just kind of a flavour of who I would consider later on, and a reminder of what I've got the Seahawks doing in this mock draft here. Let me know what you think, and just remember, the point is I am going to do a lot of these. Okay, I am going to do a lot of these mock drafts between now and the draft because Seahawks got a lot of picks. It is a rebuild. It is a huge period in the Seahawks history that we are facing here, and I'm going to talk about different options. I'm not just going to churn out the same mock every single time and tell you what I want to happen and do my mocks around that, which is what a lot of people do. They mix things up. I want to mix things up with Seattle. Big thank you here for the super chat. Appreciate that. Much appreciated to everybody who sent a super chat in. A few people here saying wanting to take Rasheed Walker instead for that tackle spot at the end. Well, I guess that, as I was saying earlier, it's about the fact they've had Trent Brown in. Is that a tell, a nudge in the direction of the kind of right tackle they want? Massive. And Daniel Farlele, if nothing else, is massive, like Trent Brown. So that's what I've gone for. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Don't forget to subscribe. You can get this also on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to those. Leave a review on Apple as well. Really appreciate that if you're listening on Apple. On YouTube, subscribe. The numbers are going up. Let's get them even further up there. Please like the video, share it around, spread the word. This is the place for coverage of the Seahawks rebuild, as I'm calling it. Pete Carroll would probably disagree. We've got lots more on the way. Got some exciting guests coming up on the podcast as well. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, thanks for your company. See you next time. Bye for now.